Hi everyone, and welcome back to English Made Simple. I'm Nancy. I'm absolutely thrilled to see you here today for what I consider one of the most practical and essential lessons in English writing, understanding when to use capital letters and when to use small letters. This topic might seem simple at first glance, but trust me, there are so many nuances and rules that even native speakers sometimes get confused about. Today's lesson is going to be comprehensive, detailed, and packed with real-world examples that you can start using immediately in your writing. Whether you're preparing for exams, writing emails at work, or just want to improve your overall English writing skills, this lesson will give you the confidence to capitalize correctly every single time. Before we dive in, let me tell you why this matters so much. Proper capitalization shows your reader that you understand English writing conventions. It makes your writing look professional and polished. More importantly, it helps convey meaning. Sometimes a capital letter can completely change what you're trying to say. So let's explore this fascinating world of capital and small letters together. The foundation, starting every sentence. Let's begin with the most fundamental rule that every English student learns first. We always start a sentence with a capital letter. This seems obvious, but you'd be surprised how often people forget this basic rule, especially when they're writing quickly or informally. Here's what this looks like in practice. When I write "the weather is beautiful today," I capitalize the T in the because it's the beginning of the sentence. When I continue with "I think we should go to the park," I capitalize the I because this is a new sentence. Even in informal writing like text messages or quick emails, this rule still applies. But here's where it gets interesting. What happens after a period, question mark, or exclamation point? Every new sentence starts fresh with a capital letter. So if I write "What a wonderful day. The sun is shining brightly. Are you ready for our adventure?" Notice how what, the, and are all get capitals because they're starting new sentences. This rule even applies to sentences that come after colons in certain situations. For example, if I write "Remember this important fact," proper grammar makes a strong impression. The word proper gets a capital because it's starting a complete sentence after the colon. The power of proper nouns. Now let's talk about proper nouns. These are specific names of people, places, organizations, or things, and they always get capital letters. This is where English shows its respect for individuality and specificity. When we talk about people's names, every part of their name gets capitalized. So we write Mary Johnson, Dr. Sarah Williams, President Abraham Lincoln, or Professor James Anderson. This includes titles when they're used with names, Dr. Smith or Captain Martinez, but watch out, because if you just say the doctor or the captain without the specific name, those words stay lowercase. Places are another big category for capitalization. We capitalize London, Paris, New York City, California, the United States, Asia, and the Pacific Ocean. But here's the tricky part. We also capitalize words that come from place names, like American, French, Chinese, or European. These are called proper adjectives, and they always stay capitalized. Organizations, companies, and institutions also get the capital letter treatment. We write Harvard University, Microsoft Corporation, the United Nations, the Red Cross, and McDonald's. Even when you're referring to them in shortened forms, like Harvard or Microsoft, they keep their capitals. Brand names are proper nouns too, so we capitalize iPhone, Coca-Cola, Toyota, Nike, and Google. This is true even when the company might stylize their name differently in their marketing. In formal writing, we follow standard capitalization rules. Navigating the calendar, days, months, and holidays. Time-related words have their own special capitalization rules that you absolutely need to master. Days of the week always get capital letters: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. The same goes for months of the year: January, February, March, through December. Holidays are treated as proper nouns, so we capitalize Christmas, Thanksgiving, Independence Day, Valentine's Day, and New Year's Eve. Religious holidays follow the same pattern. Easter, Ramadan, Diwali, and Hanukkah all get capitals. But here's something that trips up many learners. Seasons typically stay lowercase unless they're part of a proper noun. So we write, I love summer and winter is my favorite season, but we would capitalize Spring Festival or Winter Olympics because these are specific event names. Historical periods and events also get capitalized when they're specific names. We write about the Great Depression, World War II, the Renaissance, and the Industrial Revolution. These are specific historical periods that have become proper nouns. Titles and headings, the art of selective capitalization. Titles of books, movies, songs, and other creative works follow special capitalization rules that we call title case. This means we capitalize the first word, the last word, and all important words in between, but we leave small words like articles, prepositions, and conjunctions lowercase unless they're the first or last word. Let me show you how this works with some examples. The book To Kill a Mockingbird capitalizes to kill and mockingbird, but leaves a lowercase because it's an article. The movie Gone with the Wind capitalizes gone, wind, but leaves within the lowercase because they're prepositions and articles. This gets a bit more complex with longer titles. Consider The Lord of the Rings. We capitalize the because it's the first word, Lord, and rings because they're nouns, but we leave of in the lowercase because they're prepositions and articles in the middle of the title. Song titles follow the same pattern. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles capitalizes I, want, hold, your, and hand, but leaves to lowercase. Academic papers and essays follow these same title case rules. However, there's an important exception. If you're writing in a style that uses sentence case for titles, you would only capitalize the first word and proper nouns. Some academic journals and publications prefer this style, so always check your style guide. Academic and professional writing. In academic and professional contexts, capitalization becomes even more important because it shows attention to detail and professionalism. Academic subjects have their own rules. We capitalize specific course names like English Literature, Advanced Mathematics, or Introduction to Psychology, but we leave general subject areas lowercase when we're not referring to specific courses. So you might write I'm studying biology when talking about the subject in general, but I'm taking biology when referring to a specific class. The same applies to I love history versus I'm enrolled in modern European history. Degrees and certifications get capitalized when they're used as proper nouns. Bachelor of Arts, Master of Science, Doctor of Philosophy are all capitalized, but when you're talking about them generally, you might write I have a bachelor's degree, or she earned her master's degree. Professional titles are capitalized when they come before names or when they're used in direct address. Professor Johnson will teach the class, or thank you, Professor, both use capitals, but my professor is very knowledgeable uses lowercase because it's a general reference. Religious and cultural references. Religious terms have their own capitalization conventions that show respect and reverence. We capitalize God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and other names for deities. Religious texts get capitalized too: the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Bhagavad Gita. Religious movements, denominations, and followers also get capitals. We write Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and Catholic. This extends to religious holidays and observances like Ramadan, Lent, Passover, and Christmas. Cultural movements and periods also get capitalized when they're specific historical or artistic movements. The Harlem Renaissance, the Enlightenment, Romanticism, and the Beat Generation are all proper nouns referring to specific cultural phenomena. Quotations and dialogue. When you're writing dialogue or quoting someone, the first word of the quotation gets capitalized just like the beginning of any sentence. For example, if I write, she said, please come to the meeting tomorrow, the word please gets a capital because it's starting the quoted sentence. But here's where it gets interesting. If the quotation is interrupted by other words, you don't capitalize the continuation unless it's starting a new sentence. Look at this example. I think, she said, we should leave now. The word we stays lowercase because it's continuing the same sentence, but if it were, I think we should leave now, she said. The weather is getting worse, then the would be capitalized because it's starting a new sentence. This rule applies to all kinds of quotations, whether you're quoting literature, interviews, or conversations. The key is to think about whether you're starting a new sentence or continuing an existing one. Common mistakes and how to avoid them. Let me share some of the most common capitalization mistakes I see, even from advanced English learners. One big mistake is capitalizing words just because they seem important. Remember, importance alone doesn't make something a proper noun. Specificity does. For instance, don't write "I love to eat pizza" unless you're talking about a specific restaurant called pizza. The food itself is just pizza with a lowercase p. The same goes for "I'm going to the store" unless the store is specifically called store. It should be store. Another common error is inconsistent capitalization of the same word. If you capitalize internet at the beginning of your essay, don't switch to internet later unless you have a specific reason. Pick a style and stick with it throughout your writing. Many people also struggle with capitalizing words in titles. Remember the rule about articles, prepositions, and conjunctions staying lowercase unless they're the first or last word. The art of war is correct, but the art of war is not. Family relationships can be tricky too. We capitalize mom and dad when we're using them as names. I called mom yesterday, but we use lowercase when there's a possessive pronoun. I called my mom yesterday. The same applies to other family terms like uncle, aunt, grandma, and grandpa. Technology and modern usage. In our digital age, capitalization rules are evolving, especially with technology terms and internet usage. Some technology companies intentionally use unconventional capitalization in their names, like iPhone, eBay, or iPad. In formal writing, we generally follow these company-preferred capitalizations. Internet-related terms have their own conventions. We typically capitalize Internet when referring to the global network, though some style guides now accept Internet in lowercase. World Wide Web and web are usually capitalized, but website and email are typically lowercase. Social media has created new challenges. Platform names like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn are proper nouns and get capitalized. But what about actions on these platforms? We usually write "I posted on Facebook" or "I tweeted about the event," keeping the action words lowercase. Hashtags present a unique challenge. While the platform might display them as hashtag, in formal writing you might write the hashtag campaign if referring to it as a proper noun, or the hashtag campaign if referring to the general concept. International and foreign words. When writing about international topics, we need to consider how to handle foreign words and names. Generally, we follow the capitalization rules of the language of origin when we know them, but we also adapt to English conventions for readability. Foreign place names keep their original capitalization when possible. Sao Paulo, Mexico, and Zurich maintain their original forms. However, when these names are anglicized, they follow English rules, Mexico City rather than Ciudad de Mexico in English writing. Foreign titles and honorifics also maintain their capitalization. Señor Martinez, Madame Du Bois, and Herr Schmidt all keep their capitals because they're equivalent to English titles like Mr. or Mrs. When foreign words have become part of English, they generally follow English capitalization rules. Words like kindergarten, entrepreneur, and cafe are treated as regular English words and only get capitalized when they're at the beginning of sentences or part of proper nouns. Legal and official documents. In legal and official writing, capitalization often carries extra significance. Legal documents might capitalize defined terms throughout the document. For example, a contract might say, "The buyer agrees to purchase the property," and then use buyer and property with capitals throughout the document to refer to these specific entities. Government bodies and official positions get capitalized when referring to specific offices or institutions. The Supreme Court, Congress, the Department of Education, the Prime Minister, and the President all get capitals when referring to specific offices, but the Court, the Congress, or the President might be lowercase when used generally. Laws, acts, and official documents are treated as proper nouns. The Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Civil Rights Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act all get full capitalization treatment. Style guides and consistency. Different style guides have slightly different capitalization rules, and it's important to be consistent within your writing. The Associated Press Style Book, Modern Language Association, MLA, American Psychological Association, APA, and Chicago Manual of Style all have their own preferences for certain situations. For example, some style guides prefer internet while others insist on internet. Some capitalize web while others use web. The key is to choose a style guide appropriate for your audience and stick with it consistently throughout your writing. In academic writing, you'll often need to follow specific style requirements. Always check what style guide your instructor or publication requires and make sure you understand their specific capitalization rules. Digital communication and informal writing. While formal writing rules are important, it's also worth acknowledging how capitalization works in informal digital communication. Text messages, social media posts, and instant messages often use different conventions. However, even in informal writing, certain capitalization rules still apply. Names of people and places should still be capitalized, and starting sentences with capital letters still makes your writing easier to read and more professional. Some people use all lowercase or all uppercase for stylistic effect in creative writing or social media, but this should be a conscious choice, not a result of not knowing the rules. Understanding proper capitalization gives you the freedom to break rules intentionally when appropriate. Conclusion and key takeaways. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground in today's lesson, from the basic rule of capitalizing the first word of every sentence to the complex nuances of capitalizing foreign words and legal documents. The key to mastering capitalization is understanding that it's not arbitrary. Every capital letter serves a purpose, whether it's showing respect for a proper noun, indicating the beginning of a new thought, or following established conventions. Remember that capitalization is ultimately about communication and respect. We capitalize proper nouns to show respect for specific people, places, and things. We capitalize the beginnings of sentences to help our readers follow our thoughts. We follow title case rules to make our headings clear and professional. The most important advice I can give you is to be consistent. Once you choose how to capitalize something, stick with that choice throughout your writing. When in doubt, consult a reliable style guide or dictionary. And remember, mastering capitalization is a process. Even experienced writers sometimes need to double-check the rules. Practice these rules in your daily writing, whether it's emails, essays, or social media posts. The more you use correct capitalization, the more natural it becomes. Soon you'll be capitalizing correctly without even thinking about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this comprehensive lesson on capitalization. I hope you found it helpful and that you feel more confident about when to use capital letters and when to use lowercase. Don't forget to like this video if it helped you, subscribe for more English grammar lessons, and leave a comment below if you have any questions about capitalization. I read every comment and love helping you improve your English skills. Until next time, keep practicing, keep writing, and remember, every capital letter is a small but important step toward clearer, more professional communication. See you in the next lesson.